Supper with Stub, Supper with Stub, mixing up drinks and making grub, pairing beer and wine with the dishes we love. Come on in and see the spell of Supper with Stub.
Hello friends, Stub from CorkTV.com here. Welcome to Supper with Stub. You know what we do here? We drink and we cook things. Yeah, it's cool. We always start off Supper with Stub with a cocktail, and we're gonna do that. Today it's all about Maryland. What do we know about Maryland? Well, they got crabs, they got the O's, they got cow. What else is in Maryland? The Preakness. The Preakness is in Maryland, which brings us to today's cocktail. This is the Black-Eyed Susan, which is actually the official flower of Maryland, if you didn't know that. Yeah, a lot of fun facts about Maryland today. Most of them might actually be true. All right, so we're gonna take a cocktail shaker to make this cocktail, fill it with some ice. We're gonna start with 1.5 ounces of vodka, you know, give or take. I'm using kettle today. It's clean, it's crisp, it mixes well and accepts things. Now, we're gonna put 1 ounce of bourbon on top of that. I love the Four Roses. It's great for sipping and great for making cocktails. Next, we're gonna add 1 ounce of lemon juice, and Aphrodite's here, and she likes a little more sour, so we're gonna heavy hand that one just a little bit. Simple syrup, we're gonna go about 3/4 ounce of that. And then we're rolling in 2 or so ounces of orange juice. So we're gonna take a Collins glass, fill this with ice, mostly with ice. Strain our cocktail into the glass. Look at that nice little pale yellow color there. And then, so we have a Black-Eyed Susan. What you normally want to have is a lemon wedge with a black cherry in there. Your buddy Stub goes a little fancier than that. Now, the black cherry does look like the center of a Black-Eyed Susan. However, if you use one that's a little off black because it's been soaking in bourbon, oh, and it falls out of there. But you float that right on top. Look at that. Looks like a little flower. Black-Eyed Susan cocktail. Fun, easy, great for the summer, great for the Preakness. That happens, what, in May? June. It's June? Okay, yeah. So May and June, great summer cocktail, but have it early and get ready. Nice and sour, a little sweet, delicious. All right, now we're gonna get to our meal today, which consists of crab cakes, rice pilaf with toasted almonds. I'm gonna throw some corn in, but I'm not gonna show you how to steam corn on the cob because if you need help with that, you probably shouldn't be in a kitchen. But we're gonna start today with our rice pilaf, and here we go. For our rice pilaf, all those ingredients are right here on the side. You see those. To start off, we're gonna throw our butter into a pan and get that melting. All right, so we can see our butter's about melted here. Next, we're gonna throw in our orzo. Now, orzo looks like rice, not actually rice, it's actually a pasta. It just looks like rice. It's such a faker. But we're gonna throw that in and mix it into the butter and just, it's gonna get a little toasted and it's gonna do it very quickly. We're gonna go ahead and throw our almonds in there at the same time, and we're gonna give this, I don't know, 1.5 minutes or so until we get a little brownish on both the almonds and the orzo. All right, so you can see from the overhead shot here, we have a little toasty brown on our orzo and almonds. I've also been told in the background that orzo is Greek pasta, so there you go. Have Aphrodite and Sybil here with us, along with the rib. So you see I've now thrown in the onions. We're gonna cook this until these get a little translucent. There's also some debate over whether orzo's Greek or Italian. Apparently orzo's an Italian word, is that what we decided? All right, it sounds Greek, it's still the Mediterranean. We're gonna let that go. All right, so our onions are starting to get a little bit translucent here. We're not gonna add the garlic. Why do we wait to add the garlic? If you know anything about cooking, because if you add it too soon, it's gonna burn, and burned garlic is terrible. All right, the house smells like a garlic farm after about 60 seconds. Now we're gonna add our white rice and our chicken broth. And I was gonna say turn up the heat just a little bit and bring this to a boil, but apparently it's already really hot. All right, friends, our concoction here is boiling. We got rice, orzo, all the other stuff we added in there. We're gonna turn this down to a medium high and cover it. So total, this is gonna need about 20 to 25 minutes to simmer, but we're gonna revisit this in about 15 minutes and add a little special ingredient. All right, our rice orzo pilaf is simmering. We're gonna start with today's main course, which is crab cakes. This crab cake recipe comes to us from the Ribs' Grandma Helen. Grandma Helen was a Marylander, loved her crabs. If any of you have ever had crabs, you know you can sit around and eat those things all day. It's like a 6-hour meal. And afterwards, Grandma Helen would spend 2 hours picking the crab meat to make her famous crab cakes. So we're gonna get right started on all of these things. What are we gonna do? All the ingredients that have popped up here, we're literally just gonna throw these into our crab meat. Now, if this looks a little heavy for all of you, as I mentioned earlier, we have guests here, so I'm basically doubling the recipe that was on the screen. You'll see at the end how much, how much this makes and determine if you need to double, triple, whatever for your guests. Now you also see I have gloves on. There's no easy, nice way to get all this stuff incorporated. We're just gonna throw it in there. I don't even need a spatula for this mayonnaise. I'm just gonna pull it right out of my hands because I'm putting my whole hands in this bowl. This is a fun meal. I do recommend gloves for this though, because you will smell like crabs for a while if you don't. You people know how to mix things, right? All right, so we have all this mixed here. Now, some of you saw this recipe. You saw there is a little bit of flour in there, and I said pancake flour. I'm actually using bread flour myself. Now, we have the egg in there. That's gonna kind of hold everything together, as is the flour. Here's the thing. This is mostly crab meat. You know why? Grandma Helen didn't like a lot of filler at all. At all. She didn't like a lot of filler. She was kind of no nonsense, little body, kind of did what she wants. Let me tell you a little anecdote about Grandma Helen, if I may here. Is that all right? We're going to talk about Grandma Helen. In her later years, Grandma Helen was had a different place in Florida, and we'd go down to visit her, and she wasn't moving around well at that time. But every time we went down, we'd break her out, take her out, still sharp as a tack. So we took her out one day and had her out all day. She was in a wheelchair at that point, so I had to put her in and out of the vehicle. Go to put her in the vehicle at the end of the day. Now you see how I'm forming these patties here? Just kind of roughly, you're making something that looks, just a little roundish. You want to press them too thin because you want them to cook through. I mean, our crab meat's already cooked here, so not a big thing there. So Grandma Helen, I pick her up. She basically hugs my neck, and I pick her up out of her wheelchair and put her in the car. And she basically just lays back and throws her legs up in the air, thinking that she's actually hit the seat. So I say very nicely, Helen, you got to put your legs down and lean forward or this isn't going to work. And as quick as a whip, she responds, that's not what the last guy said. And it was all I could do to not drop that old lady from the edge of that truck seat. But that was who Grandma Helen was. She didn't like a lot of nonsense or a lot of BS. That's why there's not a lot of filler in these crab cakes. All right, now the awesome thing about crab cakes are, well, they're delicious, number one, but number two, you can make your own cocktail sauce to go with them. Spoken to the rib about this, who technically is a Marylander by birth. I give her a hard time about that on occasion, but technically a Marylander. So, we're gonna make our own cocktail sauce, which is the approved condiment for crab cakes. Was that correct? All right, this is very easy to do. You see all these ingredients? All we do is dump them in a bowl and mix this stuff together. Like, it's that simple. And it's way better than what you're gonna get in the store. All right, so we have this mix. We're gonna taste this now for our salt and pepper add. I'm basically just gonna add a little bit of pepper. Ooh, you saw that 1 to 2 on the horseradish. I've got about 1.5 in there. So it's got a nice little kick to it from the horseradish. Stir a little pepper, and you also saw the cayenne pepper. You see how little is in this ramekin right here and how little I just pinched in there. Gives it a little kick. You know why? Because Grandma Helen was not a shrinking violet. She didn't mind something with a little kick every now and again. All right, friends, our rice has been simmering for 10 seconds short of 15 minutes. I told you it needs 20 to 25. Why do we simmer it for 15 minutes? Here's why. We're gonna add the last 2 ingredients, and that is the red bell peppers and our frozen peas. And why do we add it like this? Well, number one, we now have a bed on which to place these, and the required simmering time, we're basically gonna steam these things so they're not overdone and mushy during the final product. Bam, mind-blowing, right? So we're gonna cover this and simmer it for another 8 to 10 minutes. All right, so we've put our peas and our peppers into our rice pilaf to let that steam off. We've now put our oil in a cast iron skillet over heat, and we're gonna get this heating up so we can cook our crab cakes here very shortly. While we're waiting on our crab cakes, we're gonna go ahead and make our own dressing for our spinach salad later. This is a pomegranate vinaigrette. I know y'all see me, look at this. This pickle label is not even off of this jar. This is how you do that when you're making a dressing. You pour the ingredients in and shake it. Everyone's familiar with this, right? Why do we do that? We want to emulsify the oil with the other ingredients in the dressing here. And shaking it, quite honestly, is the way that most of us are gonna do this at home. Now, if you have a fancy hand mixer, use the hand mixer. You can use a whisk and just drizzle the oil in a little bit of a time and emulsify it. You know what else you can do? You can make this dressing for right now, shake the hell out of it, pour it over your salad later, and then when you want some more later on, guess what? You just shake it up again before you use it out of the fridge. Does anyone really want to watch me do this? Maybe I'll do it in slow motion. Play a sexy song. What do you think? Like everything else we make, especially when you have acids and other ingredients, we want to wait a little bit before we add salt and pepper. So now I'm going to taste this dressing after I've mixed it. Honestly, I don't think it needs salt. Everything can always use a little pepper though. I'm just going to add a dash of pepper and shake this up some more. Come join me, won't you? All right, friends, we're coming to the end here. This is the grand finale as far as the actual cooking. We're going to be plating soon. We're going to take these crab cakes and throw them in our hot oil. You can see I've tested the oil, and it is indeed hot. Drop these things in carefully. They're immediately going to start frying. We're going to fry this for about, and you see how much grease is in there? I probably have a little bit too much shortening, but not by a lot. You just need a 1/4 inch or so in there to cook these things through. It may fall apart a little bit while you're putting them in. That's all right too. Grandma Helen didn't care about perfection. She cared about taste. That's what we're going for here. Grandma Helen had a lot of maxims I never actually heard her say, by the way. All right, we have our crab cakes going. We're going to go ahead and move on to our salad here. Should I have to show you how to make a salad? Probably not, but here's the thing. Simple ingredients. We have a little bit of spinach. We're going to throw some walnuts over top of that. We're going to throw some dried cranberries over top of that. And if you're so inclined, and in honor of Aphrodite and Sybil here, we're going to throw a little feta over top of it. We're going to take our super effing fancy jar of dressing here and just do a slight little drizzle right over top. So our rice is finished simmering. It's in the other camera over here. You can see it in the shot. We've just turned it off, and we're going to let this sit for the next 4, 5, 6 minutes while we finish off cooking our crab cakes. All right, friends, we have our rice, we have our crab cakes, we have our corn. I didn't show you how to make corn because, once again, if you can't make corn, I don't know how you're using the interwebs. But bam, here is our rice after sitting for a bit. Crab cakes, everything. Let's plate this up. How do we do it? Pretty easy. You just put these 3 things on the plate, right? And as I always tell you, I wash my hands in between every step I take. The only reason I'm not grabbing this corn is because it is super duper hot. If you notice the little color on top of the corn, we are talking about Maryland there. Season this with just a hint of Old Bay seasoning. You can add salt and butter as you like. Now, look at our rice here, there. See how these peas are perfectly not soggy. And we're getting a nice pop from those peppers. And then you get some nice color from the bottom of the skillet as well, where we kind of toasted everything off and let it simmer for a while. And you get, look at that beautiful color that we get on this plate. So here's our lovely plates. Let's not forget our salad, and of course, our side of homemade cocktail sauce right there. Bam! Now, what do we pair with this? Well, we finished off our cocktail, which I apparently did and left somewhere. Whatever, it's time for wine, people. To pair with this, I'm going with Albarino. If you don't know Albarino, it's a Spanish varietal native to Galicia. That's where it's grown mostly in the world. Fun fact though, a lot of Maryland wineries, or several Maryland wineries, are starting to grow and produce Albarino wines in Maryland. Now, personally, I haven't found them to be exactly the same as the Albarinos I've enjoyed from Spain over the years, but the fruit is there, and surprisingly for their area, at least to me personally, it has the acid to carry it, and that's what's great about Albarino. Albarino pairs with great seafood. It's from Galicia. They eat a lot of seafood there. So what you end up with is you end up with a little bit of a salinity, you end up with minerality, and then you get that fruit as well. So a lot of lemon, think lemon lime zest on this wine, and it's delicious. This one here I'm having is La Caña, which in Spanish I believe means the caña. Yeah, am I wrong about this? It means the caña, right? Now, like I said, the acid on this wine and the fruit is going to pair well. You're going to get that creaminess from these crab cakes here. Remember, we've got the sweet crab meat that's going to be creamy already with the butter in there. Yeah, great acid on this wine, great taste. I'm going to actually taste this with a little bit of the cocktail sauce. As in sugar cane. Or like the crutch. Ooh, the crutch. I like it. Albarino is my crutch. I would drink Albarino all day, every day if I could. A lot of you out there who want to sit down with Supper with Stub, or for Supper with Stub, aren't wine people. So what do we have? We have a Maryland beer to pair with this as well. Today we have the Heavy Seas. What's awesome about that is we're having crab, and Heavy Seas, look, they have pirates on all of their stuff. And the cool thing about this Heavy Seas, this is called the Pounder Pills, is this comes in these large cans, but in 6-packs instead of 4-packs, as a lot of them would do. So for those of you who want to drink more, this is a good buy. So this beer, it's just nice and crisp. Like, this is a nice spring summer day beer. It's going to go well with crabs. If you have crabs and you're picking crabs, this would be a great beer to have with. And then you have some left over, if you ever have beer left over, for when you make your crab cakes the next day. All right, so here we have it. We got Grandma Helen's crab cakes. We have our rice pilaf and orzo with toasted almonds. We have our corn. Just throw some Old Bay on there. Corn, I mean, it's easy. If corn were in season, I'd actually have fresh corn here, but you know, it's gonna be in season soon, as soon as the crabs are. And then we have our lovely spinach salad with walnuts, dried cranberries, and our homemade, straight from the pickle jar, pomegranate vinaigrettes. Sorry friends, I got a little caught up actually eating and drinking this delicious beer with this. I told you Albarino all day, every day for me. This beer with these crab cakes is delicious. And even though eating crabs and picking crabs is not my favorite thing, this beer hits the scales at 5%, so you can easily have several of these over an afternoon while you're having crabs and picking crabs for the next day. All right, well, I want to thank you for joining me again for Supper with Stub. Until next time, remember, there's always a seat at the table for you for Supper with Stub. Cheers.